Oh, the name's Smith. Michelle Smith. All right, now that I got that out of the way, I got my Bond out of the way. You guys know me. I'm Michelle with two L's, and I am one half of Force by Entertainment. I am bringing you. Natalie did not see the movie, so it'll just be me today. I'm going to be giving you our James Bond No Time to Die review. I am a big James Bond fan, so I'm excited to discuss this movie. But for those of you who are new, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Also, give the video a thumbs up. And you can also, of course, share comments below about the movie. But the way we do our reviews is I give you my initial thoughts, then we talk what we liked, didn't like, and then finally give a rating of the movie. All right, so let's get into this. No Time to Die, James Bond, the final Daniel Craig movie. Of course, Daniel Craig has been a pretty big hit with James Bond. I've enjoyed him. I was skeptical at first because James Bond with blonde hair and blue eyes, it was odd, but we've now come on this 15-year journey is now coming to a close, and we finally get to see the movie we should have seen like basically around 2 years, or no, we were supposed to see it close to 2 years ago. It's been a while. But anyways, let me give you my initial thoughts about what I thought about this movie. My initial thoughts were I really enjoyed the movie and I hated the end. And by the way, this will be spoiler. When I thought about it, there was no way I could discuss this movie without getting into spoilers. This is a full-blown spoiler discussion. So if you have not seen it, wait. You can give the video a thumbs up, but go see the movie and then come back and we can discuss this movie together. So let's move into, that was my initial thoughts, what I think about the movie. Let me tell you what I liked about this movie. And for the most part, as I said, I genuinely enjoyed this movie. From the moment the MGM came on the screen and James Bond music came on, it immediately made me smile. I was happy. I forgot almost how much I love this character and I love these movies. I grew up with James Bond and have always loved this character. And so just that right from the beginning, and the opening, this is probably the longest opening James Bond scene we've ever had, probably. I mean, I need to get the math on that, but it was pretty long. It was kind of like two separate scenes, two opening scenes almost in its way. Because it starts when his wife Madeline is a little girl, and that whole scene, it's where we first get our introduction to Rami Malek's character. And that scene, they did a good job of you feeling emotion throughout this movie, but you really felt like how horrifying that scene was for the little girl Madeline. And that whole opening sequence was pretty like, dang, what's going on? And it was different, but in an interesting way. It worked for me. And then, of course, it goes fast forwards 2 years later, and Bond is married to Madeline. And it leads into the chase sequence. I loved that opening scene. I love that whole chase, everything from him on the motorcycle to especially when he gets in his Aston Martin. And again, I mean, who didn't smile in the theater when he like drops explosives out of his car? I mean, that's just like classic James Bond. And it was awesome to see on screen, the car. How cool is that car? It's bulletproof. It's awesome. That whole scene was great. In fact, I would say the action in this movie, for at least it was to my liking. Like, I really enjoyed the action in this movie. I enjoyed all the car scenes, even with him and Madeline and the little girl later on in the movie. Any car sequence was really good in this movie. And all the action sequences were great. And even the one with, let's see, what is her name? Ana de Armas? I don't know her surname. You know who it is. But that whole scene, was it in Cuba? It was somewhere in South America. But that was great. That action scene was great. And I will say this, I heard someone say, and I think it's right, the tone of this movie, it shifts at times because these Bonds have been more serious. And say the scene with Ana de Armas, that was a little, like, her character was almost silly. And I almost would have enjoyed to see more of that moving forward in the future in the next Bond installment with whoever plays that Bond character, going back to uh, a little more lighthearted, I guess, because that's kind of how her character was. But her character, she's only in it that one scene, but it was a good scene to be in if that's the scene she's in. It was a lot of fun. That's kind of the way we're used to females being in Bond movies. I mean, they treat them. I mean, she's very capable in what she does and looks stunning doing it, as does he in the male version. So that scene was great. Again, all the action for me in this movie really worked. And chase sequences, all that was awesome. And then too, there's again of course, because this is kind of the end. There is a lot of emotion in this movie, I would say. And again, all spoilers. There's spoilers here. You really ultimately feel really terrible for Madeline and how he just pushes her away at the opening when you realize that she did not betray him. You feel like pretty horrible for her actually by the end of the movie. But then you also, I was even prepared for not that like I teared up or anything, but when his friend Felix, played by Jeffrey Wright, when he gets shot and when he dies, like their goodbye, like they really played into it well. I mean, you really feel the loss of that character and how deep Bond and Felix is, the CIA, the American, how deep their friendship really was. And you hear that even in the scene when the guy that betrayed Felix and him says, I killed your brother," speaking to Bloomfield, the crazy guy. And Bond's like, yes, his name was Felix. And you really felt it. You felt, so I really, I was very sad to see Felix die, but they played that death, I think, right. It was very, again, it just showed the strength of their friendship. You think about from when they first met to this point, and that was sad, but yet it was good. And then the new 007, played by Lashana Lynch. I enjoyed her and Bond's banter. She, of course, in the beginnings, kind of like feeling herself that she's 007. And as the movie goes on, and Bond, like anytime she tries to kind of put him down a peg, he puts her down two pegs. That's kind of how that goes. And it's nice. You kind of see her learn humility through watching Bond and realizing just how good at his job he is. And she realizes that. And of course, by the end, gives him back the 007 title. So she was fine. She does good in the job. I mean, in the role. She doesn't have tons to do in the role, I would say, because it really is. I mean, I think there was that concern in the trailers, like, will they take like the movie away from Bond, so to speak? But no, like this is Bond's movie. Bond is the one who shines from the beginning to the end. And yeah, so but she was fine. And let's see other things I liked in this movie. I mean, I just enjoyed the whole story. That the for my gosh, that is something. This is something that I've loved about all these Bond movies. They're beautiful. I mean, every place they filmed this movie, it was just gorgeous scenery. And whoever did, forget their name, it's kind of funky, but the director of this movie did a great job. The direction, I really stuttered on that one. The direction and just the cinematography was gorgeous. Like these are the movies, I realized that watching this, these are the movies we go to the movie theater for. Like these are just great stories. They're gorgeous. Like there's eye candy all the time, whether it's the cars, James Bond's clothes, and James Bond himself, or the beautiful women, or I mean, it's beautiful. It's a stunning movie. It's a very pretty movie, as I think all of them have been, and this one is no different. It's right up there with the other ones in that regard. And then so that's kind of things I like. And the story overall is pretty good. It was interesting. It was very Bond. I will say that. I want to say that because this Bond, Daniel Craig, has been very different from Bond in the past. It's been much more serious. He even kind of went away from some of the cheesy one-liners. But I enjoyed that this movie, I think more than any of the other Daniel Craig movies, really felt like James Bond. He has, and some of them genuinely kind of made me laugh a little bit because it's just classic James Bond. He has some one-liners as he like kills someone that, I mean, again, that's just classic James Bond. So you've got kind of those classic one-liners being thrown around in it. What drink, shaken, not stirred. You've got kind of these classic Bond things that we've grown to expect with Bond, but maybe haven't always gotten with Daniel Craig's character. So I was glad, or version of it. So I was glad that they went back to those types of things being in the Bond movie, and the story, the villains too. I even like the one guy who has like the fake eye. I mean, that he was just straight up a Bond villain. And you expect that in a Bond movie. Again, they've played these a little more realistic, but I'm glad that they allowed to have those ridiculous looking Bond villains within this movie. Again, that's just James Bond. That's what you sign up for when you go to a Bond movie. And so that's kind of the things I've liked about this movie. Again, I enjoyed like everything about this movie. This movie put a smile on my face so many times watching this movie. It genuinely did. It literally is the end. The end is what I have a problem with. So let's move into what I did not like about this movie. And what I did not like about this movie, I will have to say, it was a little disappointing with Rami Malek's character. He looked like a James Bond villain. What he was doing of trying to create this virus with these microbot type technology, that's very James Bond esque, what we would expect from a James Bond villain. But Rami Malek is such a great actor, and I feel like for this movie to be 2 hours and 45 minutes, it did not spend enough time developing that villain. He felt very underdeveloped to me, which is odd, again, because this movie is 2 hours and 45 minutes long. It's plenty enough time to develop his character, but for whatever reason, I just feel they did not develop him enough. He was a little underwhelming to me. And it wasn't necessarily anything that he did. He's a good actor and was you definitely kind of felt his presence when he was in the movie. He just wasn't in the movie enough, and his presence didn't even loom over the movie. It was just kind of like he was there some. So I would view that as kind of something I didn't like. And then also the main thing that I did not like about this movie is the end. And it's one of the reasons that I'd kind of dreaded going to see this movie because, again, I grew up with Bond. I love James Bond. And I just knew from some of these quote unquote non spoiler reviews that come out weeks before we get to see the movie, it was like they're going to kill James Bond. They're going to. Daniel Craig, this is like Han Solo 2.0 is what it feels like to me. Or no, Han Solo is definitely worse. So this is not 2.0. But it felt like that same thing. Harrison Ford infamously didn't like playing Han Solo, had won him dead for years, so Disney lets him do it. And they do it in a way that's just to this day incredibly painful to watch as a viewer. And same thing with Daniel Craig. He's complained about playing Bond for years now, and it just kind of felt like they let Daniel Craig pick how the movie ended, and he wanted the finality of Bond truly being dead, so no one can ask him if he's playing Bond again. And they went for it. And I will say this, I've heard people say that the end of Bond, of course, Bond, we find out, has the little girl, and he's been infected, and if he were to touch Madeline, his I guess still wife, I don't know how that works. But anyways, if he were to touch her or his daughter, they would be infected. And that's why he kind of stays back and makes sure that the missiles are able to blast that site. But so I mean, they give him the sacrificial hero type thing, and that's fine. And I know what I was getting at is people have said that that's fitting for this version of Bond, Daniel Craig's version, since it's told a full story. First love, Vesta, I forget her name, but from the first movie. So it has told truly a connective story, unlike the other Bonds. So I can see that. I can see why they want finality, but for goodness sakes, like James Bond, it still just doesn't work for me in that. Like, give him a happy ending. I'm just one of those with James Bond. Sir Ian Fleming didn't have him die. Like, he just doesn't need to die. And apparently the name of this movie, instead of No Time to Die, should be Time to Die, because that's what they decided to do with Bond. and I hated it. Like, for a movie that I enjoyed so much, for me to walk out of the theater feeling what I felt, which was just aggravation at the fact that they allowed Daniel Craig to kill off the character, I didn't need to feel that walking out. Like, give him a happy ending. Here's the thing about Bond. Why is Bond like such a man of mystery? And why do we love Bond so much? Listen, I understand in real life, heroes die all the time and sacrifice, and that is a real thing. But this is a fictional character that's always been a little bit goofy in his own right. And we like these characters because they never die. Like Bond, he's in these impossible situations and yet he makes it. Like that's what we want with James Bond. And that's what I wanted with this James Bond, for him to have his happy ending. And as I knew going into the movie, they did not give him that. And again, I understand people saying it was a fitting end to this version of it. I get that, but that's not what I wanted. We've never had Bond die, and I did not want Bond to die here. And I know at the end credits, Bond will return, but again, I hated. I literally will use the word I hated. I hated that they went out with Daniel Craig's character by letting him die. I really do. I despise it, to be quite frank, if we're being real. I was not a fan of that decision at all. So that's kind of it for my thoughts on No Time to Die. So what is my rating? Well, as far as my enjoyment, I would have to give it like a 4.5 out of 5 hoots. Like, I genuinely enjoyed this movie. I would say there was about 15 minutes they should have found somewhere to shave off this movie. It felt like it dragged just for a little bit there, and then it picked up again. But overall, I really enjoyed it. I love the movie right up until the end. Until the very end of the movie, I was really, really enjoying myself. And again, this is the type movie that you pay to go see on a big screen. It's awesome. It was meant to be seen on a big screen. So I give it, okay. It's like I give it 4.5 hoots out of how much I enjoyed it, but the end killed it so much. Maybe I have to take it down to 4 hoots. I don't know. I hated what they did at the end. I hated it so bad. But yeah. So that's my review. That's just kind of my thoughts on the latest and the Daniel Craig and the last and the Daniel Craig James Bond, which is just kind of, it was bittersweet to watch in general. 15 years. I was a senior in high school when Casino Royale came out, and it's bittersweet, and it just made it even more so bittersweet that, or maybe just kind of bitter that they ended it the way that they ended it. Yeah, I was not a fan of that. And they did at least, I think, quote, actually Ian Fleming himself at the end of the movie. Reads a quote, I believe, from Ian Fleming, who of course wrote James Bond, which is cool and all. But yeah, to me, James Bond never dies. I gave you the title of the next Bond movie. James Bond never dies. That needs to be the next one of the next set of movies they do with James Bond, which, by the way, let's be real, needs to be Henry Cavill. I'm just going to throw that out there. Why not? Come on. That would sell right there. But anyways, guys, what did you guys think? Share your thoughts below. Also, give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe to the video for more movie reviews. Natalie will be back with me on the next movie review. But yeah, share your thoughts. What did you guys think of the movie? What did you like, dislike? Did you like the end or not? But anyways, guys, that is it. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, remember to be a force of light. All right, bye, guys.